Today I am on the island of Lindisfarne. Lindisfarne, or as it's also known, Holy Island, is an island off the coast of Northumbria in England, which is reachable for a few hours a day by causeway. The other hours the causeway floods and it's impassable. I'm specifically on Lindisfarne Beach, which I love. I've been here loads and loads of times. It's about 80 miles from my home in Edinburgh, and I come here a lot. I'm trying out, I've come here today to try out Harmam Phoenix 200 in 120 format. It's a film I've used in 35mm format. Here's a few examples. I find it to be a really nice, earthy looking film. It's really good for brown and green, kind of natural colours. It has grain the size of golf balls. So this is the first time I've tried 120 format. It'd be interesting to see how it translates to the bigger negative. So I've got my Mamiya 645 Pro TL, a number of lenses. I've got my big boy camera. I've got my Osmo Pocket 3 with DJI Mic 2. I've got my drone, my DJI Mini Pro 3 drone. I've got my Tascam Portacam X8 for that stereo sound gig. As you can see, the sun is it's kind of severe. This film apparently doesn't do so well in very high contrasty lighting. It's better in lower contrast. I've previously used it in slightly lower contrast or low contrast prior to this, and I'm kind of hoping I haven't wasted my petrol getting here if I get just a load of fairly unusable shots of stuff with, like really severe blown out highlights or shadows jet black. Anyway, I'm going to see how it goes, and here are the results. Okay, it's later in the day and the sun has calmed itself down a wee bit, which is good because it was just fearsome earlier on. I don't know what I was going to, so I'll see what I can get as of now. I love the rope here. Ropes everywhere. Let's go and see how they lay the rope out. I assume to dry it. So yeah, oops. Get my shit together with the camera. Yeah, this is how they dry the rope, obviously. There's just tons of it all over the place. and here are the negatives. So looking at these on a light board, it's fairly evident that they are quite high contrast. So I'll put them through the FlexTight scanner and then into Lightroom Classic, where I'll process them with Negative Lab Pro. Okay, so here they are in Lightroom. Now, the first thing that I noticed, this is the thing I like the most, is the colour. The film renders everything in this, what I think is really lovely, earthy tones. Everything's sort of browny orange, and it looks warm. I really like that. I know there's a lot of people a lot of other people discussing the film have said that's not a thing that they particularly like, but that's one of my favourite things about this film. Another thing that's quite noticeable with Harmam Phoenix 200 is its inability to cope with very high contrast scenes. Very bright sunlight days where the sun is lighting up buildings, for example, and casting quite strong shadows. The shadows will very quickly fall to complete featureless black, and the highlights will very quickly blow out. A way to get rid of, obviously, careful metering, and metering for whatever you want to come out of the image. So if you want to preserve some shadow detail, you would meter for the shadows more than the highlights, although you will obviously lose the highlights at that point. I would point out at this juncture that I shot this at box speed of 200 and I metered with an external meter, really just for the scene. I measured, I did an average measurement for the scene, and I think they're okay. There's no highlights blown out. I mean, obviously there's shadows that have just completely gone to black, but I mean, I think these particular shots are okay. You can see it later in the images where the sun had sort of calmed down a bit. It was less contrasty. You're getting much better dynamic range over the images. You're getting much less overly bright highlights and really dark shadows. It's a much nicer sort of scene. You can see this in the end images. Also, the grain, while obviously more apparent in 35mm film with its much smaller negative size, it is still quite apparent in the 120. It is a very grainy film. It's something I actually quite like. I mean, it is a film that I really like. It's a film that I'm going to use probably not that often, but I do like it. I like the way it renders colour. I like the warm look of it. I think, okay, one thing I don't like is I don't like the skies. The skies are this unusually sickly blue colour, kind of unnatural looking. I'm not big on that. Possibly have to work in Lightroom on that, but sort of straight out of the scan, I think it renders blue quite poorly. Anyway, back to Lindisfarne. Okay, that was Lindisfarne Beach, and I'm going to head home now because my work here is done. Okay, have a good day and subscribe and all that.